Still don't think this world is unstable? Well, let's watch and hear some things. Maybe you'll change your mind. Let's go.
What makes the water act like this? What make...
I can think of a few things. You know what I mean? It can go from earthquakes. Some people would be like, nah, the government doing something. They could be controlling that. You know what I mean? Some people link it to aliens. Some people will say, you know, I don't know. It's a phenomena of this planet that we have yet to... It could be, all we know, a glitch in the Matrix. I don't know, but that's weird right there. And I don't want to live nowhere close to where that's happening.
The U.S. government is run by tall, white aliens.
Knew it.
According to Forbes...
Okay, so this is a real story. Interesting. Yeah. Cool.
This is based on information leaked by Edward Snowden.
That's some juicy information for Snowden to be leaking.
These same aliens helped Nazi Germany come to power.
Uh-oh.
The information was published in Iran by Fars News Agency. I would assume Fars is short for Farsi, but this is the English language version of it. The Iranian news service says this information was leaked to them by the FSB in Russia.
Very reliable source.
There's incontrovertible proof of an alien extraterrestrial intelligence agenda, and it's been controlling foreign policy since 1945.
That's a long time.
That would be the same aliens that met with Dwight Eisenhower.
Edwards Air Force Base.
Yep.
Our old stomping ground.
Russia also says that this group of aliens set up a cover-up like the movie They Live. Now, is this legitimate? That's kind of the question when it's coming from Russia like that.
Interesting hearing tall whites and not lizard people.
Lizard people.
We're not that show. Lizard people.
It's fascinating that Forbes threw that out there.
Yeah, that's not something you'd expect to see in Forbes.
Unless it's disinformation.
Yeah, that's not 30 under 30. What's that doing out there?
Yeah.
First of all, I hate when they mention movies or people mention movies and I haven't seen them yet. I hate that. You know what I mean? But interesting. Do you think that, or could it be possible that alien has its hands in government decisions, policy? I mean, we can't rule it out if we're going to say they placed us here. If that's going to be a conspiracy that they placed us here to do their work, then why not have their hand in control on what's going on with the government, foreign policy, different things like that? How can you rule that out? So at this point, I don't know, like, what do we believe when it comes to our government? Are they in control? Probably not. If I had to guess, I would definitely say not. No. So somebody's puppeting them in a sense. Okay, cool. Could it possibly be aliens? We don't know. But here's another theory for you to think about. Let's keep going.
In June 2017, kayakers in Washington witnessed a sudden underwater eruption on Yale Lake.
On Yale Lake in southwest Washington, two men take their kayaks out for a relaxing afternoon when the calm waters are suddenly disturbed.
Is it a whirlpool?
The video seems to show bubbles rising to the surface of the water in the center of the lake as the kayakers paddle towards them.
Just bubbles coming from the bottom of the lake. No current. I'm afraid to put my hand in the water.
One kayaker dips his camera below the waterline, and we see debris and thousands of bubbles swirling. The bubbling is so intense, the other kayaker panics and paddles off.
Go, go, go!
Then
He's the smart one. That's what I did. I was always taught bubbles in the water mean gator or something like that. You know what I mean? So multiple bubbles to me is going to mean what? Multiple gators, right? Lots of bubbles, lots of gators. That's what I'm associated with. So I'm leaving. I'm getting out of there. You know what I mean? Whirlpool could be starting and it starts sucking things in. You seen that one video where it's swallowed like a tree? Yeah. No, thank you.
Then an ominous burst of murky brown water erupts as hundreds of leaves are belched up to the surface.
What just happened? Something just happened that we caught on camera. Dude, it stinks.
Yale Lake is connected to the Columbia River, which is rumored to be the home of a massive serpentine creature named Colossal Claude. Whether or not it exists may remain a mystery, But for those who believe, the possibility of encountering this legendary lake monster continues to captivate the imagination. In June...
Now, based on my experience in the past, like where I lived at, where my grandmother lived at, and when I went to live with her, she had a pond in her area, and some kind of way sewage got into the pond and it exploded into the pond and stuff like that. So the pond was contaminated. So when I see stuff like that, it takes me back to that and thinking about that. Could that possibly have been sewage? I don't know. It looked like the pond or lake or whatever just threw up. It looked like it threw up, and it just threw up something nasty. And like I said, it reminded me of sewage. You know, at the same time, they could have stumbled upon something moving around down there. You know, I see bodies of water sometime, and I think facilities under those bodies of water. I think about that as well. So I don't know.
Anytime you find yourself thinking there's no way the American government did that, they absolutely did. The CIA absolutely relies on the fact that this kind of stuff sounds completely made up and no one will believe you. And then they'll wait, 30, 40 years and they'll be like, yeah, we absolutely did that. Anyways, here's the story about that one time that the CIA pretended to be vampires in order to take down communism in the Philippines. There is a cultural belief in the Philippines that something called aswang, which is like a vampire but slightly worse because it also feeds on organs, unborn children, apparently phlegm, and it can take alternate forms like giant pigs, nasty dogs, or giant vultures. There was a rising interest in communism in the 1950s in the Philippines until the CIA hired this man, Ed Lansdale, who was previously working in advertising. So Ed comes up with this campaign to eradicate communism in the Philippines by having CIA operatives fucking puncture people's necks so it looks like they were bitten by vampires and then hang them upside down from trees, draining their bodies of all fluids. My orders were plain, wrote Lansdale. The United States government wanted me to give all help feasible to the Philippine government in stopping the attempt by the communist-led Hucks to overthrow the government by force. My help was to consist mainly of advice where needed and desired. It was up to me to figure out how to best do this. I'll say it again. If you think they wouldn't, yes, they would. Anytime you find yourself...
Whoa. Can't unhear that now, so don't try to block it out of your mind or anything like that. You just gotta be like, whoa. Does anything surprise you anymore? That's the question I pose to you. Does anything surprise y'all anymore? When it comes to government agencies, you know what I mean, the CIA, stuff like that, does anything surprise y'all anymore? At what lengths will they go to? We was talking the other day about them and the whole thing about bringing the drugs in and using the money to fund the war. Like, what lengths will they go to? So when you hear stuff about, oh, well, they have some in captive aliens and different things like that, I'd be like, I don't put it past them at this point. Their methods that they use or the extent that they're willing to go to, I don't. I knew I hated all those vampire movies for a reason. Twilight and this, that, and the third. I knew I hated all that stuff for a reason, man. Again, like we said, movies, some truth in it somewhere. They're trying to tell us, this is their way of throwing the rock and hiding their hand through the movies. And we went through that period where everything was about vampires. Maybe that's why it was so heavily saturated about vampires. They were trying to point to something like this. This is beyond crazy to me. Let's keep going.
I once found out the person I was dating was a bloodline witch, meaning they don't practice magic, but they descend from people who do. I actually thought it was kind of cool, but I was surprised the night they first slept over when they asked if I kept a bowl under the bed. That being a protection work, I wasn't sure if I should answer honestly. They also asked if I was sure about sleeping in my evil eye. Days later my phlegm turned red, but to my doctor's and I surprise, I once found out the person I
Wait. You just gonna drop us off with the end of the story right there? We too invested at this point, fam. We need the rest of that story. Who is she? I need her name, bro. I need the rest of that story. Could you imagine a bloodline witch? First of all, who even says okay to date somebody who's a bloodline witch? And then don't be shocked when your phlegm turns red and you wake up and you got to go to the doctor and something's wrong with you. You agreed to date and go out with a bloodline witch. I don't understand y'all, man. What is on these apps that is attracting y'all? What is in the food that's making y'all like certain things these days? Because I want to stay away from it. A bloodline witch? Y'all be asking for it, man. I need the rest of the story, though.
The situation in Ohio after that grisly train accident that just occurred is a lot worse than the government is telling us. Animals on farms, fish in the rivers, and all other sorts of life forms are dropping dead in the area. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack here and there's just so much going on, but let me tell you about another infamous Ohio train accident. This is the story of the death car, or the accident that boiled 27 people alive. So this is the train car known as the death car. It's in Cleveland, Ohio. I've actually visited the place and I spent the night there ghost hunting. But back in the year 1943, an incident happened close to Cleveland. To sum the incident up, back on that day in 1943, a freight train was traveling along the train tracks as well as a passenger train. But the freight train missed a stop signal. This was an operator, a human error, and unfortunately the freight train collided with the passenger coach train. When the collision occurred, as you can see right here, the actual steam engine was ripped open and all of that hot steam poured into the passenger car. Because the passengers were trapped in the car with nowhere to go, 27 people were essentially boiled alive by hot steam. This incident was insanely gruesome and those people lost their lives in one of the worst ways imaginable. This is what the inside of the death car looks like today. It's been refurbished. You can actually go take a ride on it if you want. But the train car gained infamy as people began to report experiencing paranormal activity inside. Inside of the death car, people have reported hearing screaming, they've seen shadow figures, they've experienced all sorts of paranormal activity. So that's why when I visited Cleveland, I knew that I had to stop by the death car and spend the night.
So that's going to be in my dreams tonight. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I know I'll be asking for this, going through this stuff, but man, it kind of makes you want to say only in Ohio. And I'm a kid that grew up taking the train. I used to take the train from Savannah, Amtrak, from Savannah to New Jersey. And oftentimes it was by myself. My parents, I'm getting out of school for the summer. My parents sending me up there to stay with my aunt for the summer. And I take the train. So Amtrak was the thing, longest rides ever. You're talking about 17-hour rides, bro. And those engine changes was the worst. But thinking about that, man, I guarantee that thing is paranormal. All those souls, man, and the way it happened. I bet you could probably, it's tangible. It's gotta be. You could still probably feel that energy going in there. I can imagine, bro. I have goosebumps all up and down me. No, I'm not riding no train through no Ohio. Absolutely not.
Hey, come downstairs.
There's no way Emma decided.
Hey, come downstairs.
In the morning, and then it's slamming the door.
Come downstairs.
Heck no. Heck nah.
What the
Heck nah.
Alexa, turn on all lights.
I couldn't find any enabled video skills.
Really?
Go to the Alexa
Thanks,
app
Alexa.
to manage your video skills and devices.
New fear unlocked. These jokers can mimic the voice of your loved one. Whole new fear unlocked. Ain't no way. Once I go downstairs, I'm leaving. You asked me to come down, I'm leaving. The door better not be nowhere in the vicinity. I'm telling you, I'm leaving, bro. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Heck no, fam. That's creepy. That's beyond creepy, bro. I don't know if he got a ghost, if he got some type of paranormal or skinwalker. I don't know what he got in there, bro. But if that thing is really mimicking voices, that's different. That's next level. I want no parts of it. You can't sage that out of your home. You can't. That one there, you gotta go. You gotta go. That thing owns your house at this point. No. It's throwing voices. Heck no.
Tell me, what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about them?
I have told this story on my page before when there was a trend going around talking about the creepy experiences that we've had with the Raggedy Ann doll. And how not only we would realize that these dolls would be gifted to spiritually inclined little children. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all off the bat, I don't give a how crazy y'all think this sounds. It happened, and I asked my spirit guides and my ancestors about this because they also brought to my attention and reminded me how I even got the Raggedy Ann doll was a woman from my grandmother's church gave this doll to my grandmother to give to me.
What's crazy though, if you remember, if you were around back in those times, those dolls were spread out all over the place. I saw those dolls at tons of people's houses, relatives' houses who had kids. That doll was, those dolls were everywhere.
Even has my name stitched on her stomach.
Oh no.
Red thread. So anyway, this doll would come alive. I remember being in the living room, the adults were in the kitchen because she would only do this shit when it was only me and her in the room. Only me and her in the room. She gets up from where she was next to me where I was playing at, runs across the living room in my grandmother's house, past the fireplace, jumps up onto the couch, and is like... And when somebody was about to come into the room, just like in Toy Story,
heck no.
And I would just be standing there like... I remember one time I was in the office at my grandmother's house, and I was doing something and my back turned to the door and something made me want to turn around, or I was like at the computer or something, but something made me want to look. And here Raggedy Ann is with her 1 foot tall little self peeping around the door frame, and I'm like, what the f-? So I get up and I go after her and I look down the hall, put my head out the door, and she's like, like running down the hallway until someone's about to see her, and then she plops her down at the end of the hallway. There were instances where I had just seen her in one spot and then just shortly after, she's in a completely different room, and I asked my brother and my cousin, like, did y'all move her or whatever? And they're like, no, we've been doing XYZ, like, we didn't move her. So it wasn't like they were like trying to f with me. They have no idea that I'm experiencing this. The cousins and us, we stay at my grandma's house. Me and my other cousin, we're the oldest cousins, we sleep on the pull-out bed. The other two, they sleep in my granddad's, the spare bedroom. Somehow this doll ends up in the bed with us in the pull-out, and she's rubbing my f***ing leg. So I kick her across the room. Instances where, again, it's just me and her in the room, and she's like waving at me from across the room. There was a reason that I only kept this doll at my grandma's house. Like, to this day, this doll is still there. At my grandma's house, that's where I kept her.
Listen, we as parents gotta do better, bro. A doll given as a gift with my child's name stitched on the stomach. Who does not find that a bit suspicious? Who? What parent in their right mind is not stopping and saying, you know what? Thank you. And as soon as we on the way home, throwing that thing out the window. Preferably on a bridge to where it could fall in the water and travel somewhere else far away. Like, no, how? You know what I'm saying? This sounds like the Chucky movie. That's what this sounds like. A lot of y'all was thinking that same thing, fam. Come in the room. Oh no, grabbing my feet, running around, making me look crazy. If I tell somebody they looking at me like I need to be checked out, I need some psychiatric help. No way, bro. But I bet if you ask a lot of kids from back in the day who had that doll, did they experience something weird? Or did they feel some type of way about it? Or I bet they have most of them will probably have stories about that doll. Like I said, I remember seeing that doll around, you know what I mean, at different ones' houses. But it was always just left somewhere. 9 times out of 10, it ended up back in the adult's room. Like the kids didn't want nothing to do about it. It wasn't one of those dolls they kept by their side and they walked around with it and you couldn't separate them from it. No, that Raggedy Ann doll was always ended up back with the adults. And now that I think about it, that's probably why. That's probably, that little devilish doll was probably doing something to those kids, man. This is wild. How many of y'all had that doll, man? Or ask a relative or somebody that you know who possibly had it and see what their experiences were with that doll. That's crazy. Listen, man, y'all get at me in the comment section and let me know what you thought of these crazy videos, man. And stay tuned. We're going to be back with some more. Stick around. Till the next one, I'm gone. Peace.